Other person who's in the news this week as an obvious contender for the nomination is Gavin Newsom, who went on Sean Ryan's podcast and absolutely dissembled over the question of transition procedures and surgeries on minors as young.
Gavin Newsom acts like leadership is measured not in results but in how much hair gel he can burn through before noon. To him, California isn't a stateside runway where he gets to strut as America's most glamorous governor. But Megyn Kelly isn't buying the performance. She cuts past the polished exterior and exposes a man who treats catastrophe like a prop and incompetence like a personal trademark. Newsom loves to talk like a visionary, but Kelly makes it clear he's nothing more than a salesman, smooth, confident, and peddling a product that crumbles the second you open.
Went from people who liked Gavin Newsom, liberals, saying, I have a very favorable opinion of him. At 46%, it fell to 30%. So Charlie's correct. He's hurting himself with his liberal base by doing these interviews of people like Charlie and Steve and Michael Savage. It's because the thing about Gavin Newsom is he's not very good at pushing back. So he's not going in there and doing battle with the Charlies and the Bannons of the world. He's somewhat obscene.
Kelly doesn't just skim the surface, she drills straight into the contradiction that defines Gavin Newsom. He struts around as a progressive savior while overseeing one of the biggest mass exits of people and businesses in modern U.S. history. From Silicon Valley billionaires to middle-class families to mom-and-pop shops. Everyone's fleeing California like it's a sinking cruise ship. And why? Because under Newsom's so-called leadership, taxes keep climbing, regulations keep piling up, and the basic quality of life keeps sliding downhill. Kelly paints him not as a visionary governor, but as a man who couldn't run a lemonade stand alone, the world's fifth largest economy.
Last few years, I'm trying to understand as much as anyone else. Whole pronoun thing, trying to understand all of that. Well, that was like the hell. I mean, all that stuff. I get it.
Oh my God. First of all, his hands are flailing. He gets so nervous and he can't stop moving his hands. Right? It's to tell I'm uncomfortable and I'm probably lying too. Hands above the midline moving is.
And then there's Newsom's obsession with optics. He doesn't govern, he poses. The man could be standing in the middle of a wildfire, smoke filling the sky, and he'd still stop to make sure the cameras caught his good side. Kelly tears into that vanity, highlighting how Californians are struggling to keep the lights on and the streets safe while their governor is busy polishing his image for a White House run he swears isn't happening. He insists his heart is with California, but Kelly calls out the obvious. Newsom isn't leading a state, he's auditioning for the national stage, using California's chaos as a
said that the snippets harmed their perception of the governor. So in other words, 26% overall said it harmed their perception of him. And among liberals, 37% said it harmed my perception of the governor. Among those who have very favorable opinions of Gavin Newsom, he lost.
She makes it clear this isn't just about mismanagement, it's about hypocrisy. Newsom told Californians to mask up, shut down, and sacrifice for the greater good, then slipped away to one of the most exclusive restaurants in the country at the height of restrictions, the French Laundry. Scandal wasn't a minor mistake. It was a snapshot of who Gavin Newsom really is. In his world, the rules are for everyone else. California isn't a state to him, it's a kingdom. And he's the slick-haired prince who dines in luxury while his citizens suffer. Kelly slices through that facade with surgical precision, reminding viewers that leadership isn't about issuing orders. It's about living by the same standards you demand from everyone else.
To start this, and the reason he's smart to start it is because he has no muscles, Emily. None. He's a sinewy little weakling when it comes to arguing any of these issues, especially cultural issues, because he, like all liberals, has never had to do it. So now he's trying to get his training, which is smart on his part, and it would be smart on the part of conservatives to say no, because they declined to help him get in shape before the big bout. We're supposed to be helping Rocky, not
111, but Kelly doesn't stop there. She digs into the way Newsom weaponizes progressive slogans while ignoring the crises. Ripping through California's communities, homelessness has exploded under his watch. Tent cities sprawling across sidewalks that were once thriving neighborhoods, streets littered with needles, crime spiraling, and residents living in fear. And what does Newsom do? He showers the problem with taxpayer cash like it's confetti at a parade, then rushes to a photo op to prove how much he cares. Kelly cuts through the act, exposing the truth. His so-called solutions are nothing but stagecraft, expensive smoke and mirrors, masking the reality that nothing is actually getting better.
Come on, man. I mean, I get it. Those are legit, period. The issue of age, and, you know, as someone who's been so focused on LGBT and gay marriage, you know, the trans thing, I just like, I've been thinking about the pronouns. Yeah. That's how he answered that question, Rich. Are you okay with the surgical procedures on an 8-year-old?
And when failure comes knocking, Newsom doesn't own it. He dodges it. Kelly calls him out for his endless blame game, pointing fingers at Republicans. Washington, climate change, greedy corporations, anyone and anything but himself. Every leader faces challenges, but Newsom has turned excuse-making into an art form. Wildfires, climate change, businesses leaving, corporate greed, housing crisis, national trends. In Gavin Newsom's world, he's never at fault, just the tortured genius whose brilliance keeps getting sabotaged by forces beyond his control. Kelly shreds that narrative, reminding viewers that real leadership doesn't get to outsource responsibility. If you can't handle the pressure, you shouldn't take the job. And then there's the arrogance. Newsom struts across TV screens with the smugness of a man auditioning for the presidency. He downplays it, acts coy, pretends it's not happening, but Kelly points out the obvious. His entire routine isn't about California's future. It's about grooming himself as the Democratic Party's backup.
Because when you listen to him, you would think like he's a moderate, but he's not. On the trans stuff and virtually every other subject, he is as radical as they come. He is another Kamala Harris. But there's something about him, maybe he's a people pleaser, a vintage politician. When he gets across from these are our war fighters. Truly, like the three I mentioned.
The thing about Newsom is that, at first glance, he can sound like a moderate, but he's not. On the trans issue and nearly every other subject, he's as radical as they come. He's cut from the same cloth as Kamala Harris. Maybe that's part of his game. The people pleaser, the vintage politician who tells everyone what they want to hear. When he's across from America's real warfighters, the contrast couldn't be sharper. He knows Trump projects strength, and he knows the Democratic bench is weak, so he positions himself as the polished alternative. The guy who looks like he belongs in a glossy magazine spread. But Kelly dismantles that fantasy. She makes it clear America doesn't need another pretty face, it needs a leader who delivers results. And with Newsom, results are the one thing missing. His speeches are stuffed with buzzwords, equity, transformation, bold vision, words that sound inspiring but collapse into nothing. When it's time to execute, California doesn't get progress. It gets higher taxes, broken promises, and more families loading up U-halls. Kelly hammers the point. Leadership is measured in results, not rhetoric. And in Newsom's case, the results are catastrophic. What makes her takedown so brutal is that she doesn't just expose his failures, she makes him look ridiculous. She paints him as a governor treating California like his personal Instagram backdrop. Wildfires raging. Cue the heroic photo op. Homeless camps spreading. Time for a flowery speech about compassion. Every crisis becomes a prop. Every disaster, another.
California is these mealy-mouthed, kale-eating, broccoli-pushing, Birkenstock, whatever, wearing politicians who can't find another person fast enough to blame. My absolute favorite, though, is the fire chief. She's growing on me. When she's not focusing on her lesbianism, she's actually quite fierce. She is not going down without bringing Mayor Karen Bass with her. And who could blame?
California is collapsing. Yet Newsom's response is always the same. Roll out a flashy plan with a slick name and zero results. He governs like politics is theater, but Kelly rips down the curtain to show the dysfunction backstage. While he polishes his national brand, Californians are voting with their feet, turning the state's mass exodus into a verdict on his leadership. Families, workers, and entrepreneurs have lost faith, and Kelly makes sure the rest of the country sees it too, reminding them that Newsom's ambitions don't stop in Sacramento. His entire reputation is built on being the slickest man in the room, the politician who can smile while everything burns, and still convince half the audience it's all part of the plan. But Kelly cuts through that illusion, exposing him not as a leader but as an actor auditioning for the role of governor, and somehow keeping the part despite failing every single test of leadership. 111 juta, 111 ribu, 111 under Newsom. California has become the biggest contradiction in America, the land of dreams transformed into the land of tents, needles, and boarded-up storefronts. Megyn Kelly knows exactly why. Newsom is more interested in posturing on the national stage than putting out the fires in his own backyard. He struts around like a man destined for higher office, yet can't even manage the one he already has. It's like watching someone brag about running a marathon when they can't make it past their own driveway. Kelly wasted no time dragging his obsession with appearances, from the slicked back hair that looks dunked in motor oil to the rehearsed sound bites that sound inspiring but say absolutely nothing. He's the human equivalent of a glossy magazine cover, shiny on the outside, hollow on the inside. Kelly's roast landed hard because she hammered home a simple truth: California doesn't need a model, it needs a manager. And Newsom doesn't manage, he performs. Just look at the homelessness crisis. Billions spent every year, yet the tents keep multiplying faster than campaign flyers in election.
So measured, and you're going to have that flailer with the hands and the stuttering and the come on man, pulling the Joe Biden, come on man. It didn't work for Biden, and it's not going to work for Newsom. Like, I'm just seeing the runway of how the Republicans' chances are going to look, and right now I'm feeling good. Not necessarily about the midterms, but about the presidential race. Here's another thing, it's a little off point on the trans issue, but a great moment where Sean asked Gavin Newsom about why they were so able to very quickly clean up the city of San Francisco when Chinese President Xi Jinping came in 20.
Kelly drove the point home. Newsom doesn't solve problems, he stages them. He'll cut a ribbon, give a polished speech, and vanish while the crisis festers. That's not leadership, it's performance art. And when the show ends, the streets remain buried in misery while he applauds his own act. Then there's the economy. Companies aren't quietly drifting out of California, they're bolting like evacuees from a wildfire. Tesla, Oracle, Hewlett-Packard, once proud California icons, have planted their flags elsewhere. Yet every time it happens, Newsom plays dumb, as though high taxes, strangling regulations, and crime-ridden cities weren't neon warning signs all along. Kelly likened him to a clueless landlord who jacks up the rent, ignores the black mold, and then gasps in disbelief when the tenants finally flee. But her sharpest blade cut through his hypocrisy. This is the same governor who slammed California into one of the harshest lockdowns in the country, closing schools, crushing businesses, and tearing families apart while he carried on as if the rules were for everyone.
Annoyed after, we ended our show on Thursday, was it? I don't know. Was it Thursday or Friday? About what's happening with the biological males out there. And this A.B. Hernandez, who is winning all the girls' medals, Hernandez. And I just did like a personal plea to people and got a lot of great feedback on it. So thank you for watching that. But then I took it to Twitter, and on X, I addressed Gavin Newsom personally. He follows me, so I tagged him. And I'm going to be honest, I begged him to please stop this for all the reasons stated on our YouTube feed. And he didn't get back to me. But
11 While Californians sacrificed, Newsom dined maskless at the French Laundry, proving the rules never applied to him. Kelly called it what it was: contempt for the people he governs. She also tore into his ambitions. Newsom dreams of the White House, selling California as a progressive paradise while it crumbles. Kelly's point was brutal. If he can't manage the richest state in America, why trust him with the entire country? In the end, she painted him as a man obsessed with his reflection, blind to the chaos behind him: blackouts, crime, failing schools, too busy checking his...
he feels the need to get their approval. That's how it feels. And he's getting excoriated by the left-wing press as a result. It's actually kind of amusing. We put together a budded soundbite. Take a listen here.
I thought that was one of the most inauthentic things I have seen Gavin Newsom do.
Wow.
I'm terribly,
so you don't believe in the let them hang themselves theory?
No, I'm terribly disappointed. I think you meet energy with energy. And what he did was he showed his pretty white teeth and his cute face and did nothing other than that.
And one. Kelly mocked his obsession with the spotlight. calling him the guy who's always at the party but never sets up a single chair. She zeroed in on California's growing resentment, families fleeing the middle.
A lot about San Francisco and the homelessness and pooping on the road and all that kind of stuff, and it seemed like all of that was cleaned up when Xi came to town.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Complete bullshit.
That's complete bullshit.
I know folks say, oh, they're just cleaning up this place because all those fancy leaders are coming into town. That's true, because it's true.
I got to credit Morning Wire, my pals over the Morning Wire who put that together. Such a...
1. Kelly mocked his obsession with the spotlight, calling him the guy who's always at the party but never sets up a single chair. She zeroed in on California's growing resentment, families fleeing the middle.